Hello guys, welcome back to Kings' Student Athlete Spotlight. My name is Ethan Poor and I'm here with Kings men's ice hockey captain, Mikey Harrel Jr. So Mikey, grand old time, you're here at Kings College, so kind of like take me back to where your hockey journey really started, right? Like what made you fall in love with the game?
Yeah, so I actually started playing hockey when I was 2 years old. So when you're 2, there's not that many, I guess, memories that you can take with you to now being 23. But the one thing that kept me coming back to hockey, I'd say, is just the brotherhood you can create within the locker room with the guys, the camaraderie, just like hoping to achieve a common goal. There's something in that where you have to like kind of sacrifice your own selfish ambitions to achieve the ultimate team goal of winning a championship. And so I'd say, yeah, that it's just the camaraderie with the guys that kept me coming back and falling in love with hockey all over again.
And then with your junior career as well, like you played multiple leagues, like you played all over the place, played in all, NA3, NCDC, even the Premier League. Like how did this experience going from multiple leagues, moving around all the time, kind of like prepare you for college hockey?
Yeah, I think even prior to juniors, I left home at 15 to go play AAA hockey out in Colorado. And so at a young age, I was kind of away from the community I grew up with, my parents, my best friends from hockey and school, my sisters. And so I kind of think it made me grow up pretty fast, learn to be super independent. And then bouncing around from league to league, not really having stability, also helped produce that independence. But I think that led to a maturity that I kind of take with me everywhere on campus and the community that I go to. And it makes me like sure of who I am. And so no situation, no label kind of defines me, but I was able to discover who I am being in all these different communities.
That's awesome. And then Coach Race like shared with us before you came here that you lost your father during your I think second to last year in juniors. Mm-hmm. So how did that kind of reshape your perspective both on your life, on hockey, and as well as like where you made a decision to go for college?
Yeah. So the loss of my dad was really hard. That first year, he kind of was the one that took me to the rink every day. We spent hours and hours in the car together just talking about many things from like favorite music to life goals. And so he was a big reason why I played hockey. And when I lost him, I kind of had to look inside myself and realize like why I play hockey, what I'm doing with my life. Because up to this point, you kind of go through school thinking you're going to be a pro athlete. For me, it was pro hockey. And losing him before college, before choosing that career path, kind of really made me reflect on what I want to do next. And ultimately, his loss made me realize what the most valuable thing in life is, the most valuable commodity, and that's time. That's something that you can't buy, that's something that you can't get back. And being able to find a way to give people time was something that I found a lot of value in. And so that kind of led me down into the rabbit hole of like, how can I do something that gives people time? And I think if you look across many professions, there's like numerous ways you can do that. Like my roommates are civil engineers, and so like they're able to make more efficient methods of commuting or living, which in a indirect way gives people more time. But for me, with my history of injuries and stuff, I was drawn to the medical field. And the support the doctors were able to give my mom when my dad was in the ICU, because I was over in many different states playing hockey, was just something that was invaluable. And reflecting on like how they supported my mom and how they were able to ultimately prolong my dad's life in the ICU long enough for where I could go visit him before he passed. That is just something that I want to be able to give to others. And so it ultimately made me rethink my career. I was like, actually, pro hockey isn't something that's going to let me give people more time. But choosing a career in the medical field right now, hopefully surgery, but we'll see, is something that would give people that a commodity. And so that is also a big reason why I chose Kings. I wanted to go to a college where I could continue to play hockey because that's something that me and my dad shared. So that's something I can continue to share with him even though he's not with us anymore. And a school that also had the academic standing to kind of thrust me into a medical program where I could find success. And Kings was one of the few D3 schools that offered that. And so it was honestly one of the biggest reasons I ended up choosing Kings.
It's awesome. And then with all this too, like with losing your father, how do you carry them on the ice if you do?
Yeah, I think the biggest way I carry my dad on the ice with me is before every game I can just like kind of have a quiet moment to myself and with the Lord and just kind of calm my nerves, ground myself. Like it just reminds me like why I play the game. I don't play the game kind of to show off. I don't play the game to bring attention to myself, but I play the game because it's something that me and my dad shared. It's something that me and my dad loved. And in playing the game, it's a way for me to just continue to connect with him, even if it's not physically connecting with my father anymore.
Awesome, thank you. And then having dealt with hardship on the ice, in the classroom, you know, in life in general as it is, what's one way, like you would talk to somebody else or help somebody else channel the same adversity that's been thrown at you?
Yeah, so I learned about this concept in my second semester of freshman year in Father Ising's Christian ethics class. It's called redemptive suffering. And before that class, I probably wouldn't have a term to put on the question you just asked. But after learning about redemptive suffering, it's this suffering where you go through a period of like hardship, like with my father, and it sucks. There's nothing else really to say about it other than that's terrible. But after dealing with the suffering, at some point, you don't know when that point's going to be, but at some point, there's a time where you can use that suffering to help someone else, to connect with someone else. And I think that's when it becomes redemptive, because it gives that suffering purpose. You understand why and how to use the suffering that you experienced. And so for me, it's the loss of someone so important to me just helps me connect with people in their losses, whether it's like monetary things or relational things. It just gave me a new understanding for how to move forward with loss and grief, and kind of how ultimately when you lose someone close to you, they're only lost if you don't take them with you. And so for me, that looks like just the character my dad instilled in me, just making sure that's modeled daily. And if I'm able to do that, then he's able to shine through my actions, and he'll never be forgotten.
Awesome. And then this past year, you were named as the captain as a junior. What does it mean to you to represent King's College as a student athlete?
Yeah, it was a tremendous honor to be recognized as captain on the men's ice hockey team. I think just to think that my teammates view me in that regard was just an honor and a privilege. And being a student athlete at Kings, I think it just like, I'm able to represent kind of how to balance a hard lifestyle, because Kings has high expectations for all students athletically and academically, and being able to represent that as a leader on campus is something I try to do. That the Kings ice hockey team strives for excellence, and not only on the ice but in the classroom, and so I think it holds me accountable to a higher standard, and that's something I definitely appreciate.
That's awesome. And then obviously you've shown success both on and off the ice. And what does a typical day look like for you? You know, balancing hockey, school, and everything else that's going on in your busy life.
Yeah, being a pre-med student athlete's no joke, but honestly, it's just discipline. I think like this morning, most mornings during the season, we end up waking up around like 4 to 5 a.m. to get to the rink, which is pretty early, and then right from the rink we go to class, and then after class sometimes we have lift. On days we don't have lift, I end up going to my part-time job at a pain management clinic nearby, to be a medical assistant. And so my full day is pretty busy up until 5 p.m. So during the season, it's a lot of discipline in order to get my work done at a high standard. But in the off season, just because we're already getting up at 4, I kind of like shift my schedule a little bit to where I'm, instead of practicing in the mornings, now I'm studying in the morning, unless we have lift in the morning. And that way my afternoons are free to kind of enjoy a social life. Because during the season, I feel like, for me, it's hard to find a social life, unless it's with the team. But in the off season, I try to maximize that, because that's part of being a student at college. Is like, yeah, sure, you have your academics, but like there's a big social component too. And I think you create so many relationships in college that you can utilize professionally and just personally. And so I try to definitely take advantage of that. And just the balance looks like it just has to be a disciplined, rigid schedule for me.
Awesome. And then finally, when people look at your story, what do you hope they take away from it?
So when people look at what I've done, whether it's at Kings, before Kings, or after Kings, I hope their biggest takeaway is that they can just see Jesus through my actions. Because for me, that is the most important thing in my life, is my faith. That's something my dad gave me. But then I made my own as I turned 18. And so whether it's just through my generosity, through my kindness, through my leadership, I just hope that is what they're able to see, is Christ in my actions.
I want to thank you so much for joining me today. We'll see you guys in the next edition of the King Student Athlete Spotlight.